This program was made possible by Coeric Incorporated. Thank you, Coeric, for your generous support.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Brown's Electric Lighting Gallery. Thank you, Brown's Electric, for your generous support of Heartbeat Alaska.
Heartbeat Alaska is also sponsored by the Norton Sound Economic Development Corporation, serving the fisheries of the Bering Strait region.
Heartbeat Alaska is also brought to you by Frontier Flying Service. Thank you, Frontier, for getting Heartbeat Alaska airborne.
This program is also brought to you by ASRC Energy Services, a subsidiary of Arctic Slope Regional Corporation. Heartbeat Alaska is also made possible through the support of Norton Sound Health Corporation.
1, 2, 3, 4, let's go.
It's Heartbeat.
It's a fabulous show.
Alaska.
Hi, Heartbeat Alaska.
It's Heartbeat. Alaska.
Pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hear it from Sitka to Barrow. Gather around for Jeannie's show. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo.
Welcome one, welcome all.
Hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska Native News and Native Information. I'm Jeannie Green. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, today another great program. We travel north to a village called White Mountain, located just east of Nome. White Mountain, yes, it's named after a white mountain. And in White Mountain, this mountain stays white all year round because it's made of limestone. The Inupiaq in the White Mountain area historically have been nomadic hunters and fishermen. With the gold rush came missionaries and teachers, bringing with them a new way of life. The strong leaders in White Mountain, though, have kept a steady keel through the many changes of the last 100 years. Leaders like Mayor Roy Agloinga.
White Mountain was originally a camp. It was started in the early 1900s, really, when the Gold Rush Company of the Wild Goose Gold Company came and started doing exploring on the river. And eventually, pastors and teachers started coming here to establish schools and churches for people. The original village that people occupied was up the river, on the Fish River, near the Council River. So eventually people started moving here like in 1888, and I think the town itself was officially established like in 1934, and then the traditional council, the IRA council that governed the village, was established in 1939. That you see is the old Wild Goose warehouse, and it's the Wild Goose Company is the company that started the gold mining in this area. What they would do is they would ferry goods up the river by large wooden boats, and they would use horses to draw the boats up and down the river. And this was their supply warehouse, and this is where they would stop a lot of goods before taking it up the river for the mining camps.
In the 1800s, when Gold Rush, when they had Gold Rush in Nome and Council, White Mountain was not in existence.
Rita Buck has lived in White Mountain almost her whole life.
There were fish camps along the river. There was Inupiaq and Inupiaq, that camp up in Cache Creek, and over below Gallivan's Rocky Point. People lived in these campsites, and when the prospectors came, they built that old gym over by the school as a storage place for going up to their mining place up in Aggie Creek and Council. And then with that came the missionaries and the teachers, and then they built the old BIA school. And then Then they realized that these Native people needed their kids to go to school. Then White Mountain became a village. You know the hill White Mountain over here? The Eskimo name for that hill over here is Nachizvik, which means a lookout place. A long time ago when the Eskimos lived on the Fish River at the campsites, they'd use that hill to climb and look around, like looking down the coast towards Golovin or over towards Nome.
The high school, actually the high school was located there, but that building has been remodeled. But this was the home where the kids lived. So they would live there and they would go to school down there. There was also another dorm for students that were not homeless students, but students who were transplanted from other villages. And this building that you see there was the boys' dorm for those students. Where this green building is sitting now, there was a larger building that was the girls' dorm. So this is a whole campus just for students who were from other villages in the state who were going to school here. The high school has some historic significance in that it was a place where Howard Rock went to school, and the school was at one time one of 3 high schools in the state of Alaska that Native students would go to. In the early 20s and 30s, in the 1920s and 1930s, it was a boarding school for many of the children in the state who lost their parents to the flu epidemic. This building is our clinic, and the clinic, White Mountain has some of the best trained health aides in the state, actually, and that's one of the areas that Norton Sound Health Corporation has done a really good job of, is training health aides and getting them ready to handle any emergencies that happen in our communities. And we have some of the most veteran health aides in the state who are also very good at training and working with people. So we're really fortunate. They've been recognized at the statewide level for their expertise.
Right after high school, Rita Buck became a health aide here. She's been doing it ever since.
It's my son-in-law's birthday today.
For Rita, it's a family tradition. Rita's mother was a health aide here, and now Rita's daughter is a health aide as well.
In the 50s, when missionaries and teachers came to White Mountain for the old school, it used to be an old dormitory. It was a BA high school. There was a nurse that came on the big boat, North Star. She used to come and treat patients with TB. And when she was leaving, she taught Lucy Lincoln how to give meds. That was basically the beginning. And then when Lucy thought that she didn't want to do it anymore, they hired my mother to be a health aide. I feel really good about it. I'm proud of those girls, how they work. I like how they hold themselves up in the community. They're role models, and that's how we should carry ourselves. And hopefully for the younger kids in our school, that they'll pick that up and, see how we're doing service to our community, and they'll carry on that tradition, hopefully.
White Mountain is a unique community because it's built on the side of 2 hills. The White Mountain Hill, which is that hill over there, and also it's built on this other hill that we're standing on now, which is the hill that the landing field is on top of. And therefore the space in the village is really limited. We have a hard time constructing new buildings, partially because we're run out of space. And building sewer and water lines in the village has been really challenging because of the hilly terrain as well. But here you can see we've developed a new area, and we may be building up further. But these are some of the most recent generation of housing from our housing program. So this is sort of what our newer areas look like. The challenge is always to build enough space between the houses so that people have enough space without going so far that we make it impossible to bring water and sewer services to the houses. Jessie! Hi, Jessie.
Roy also takes pride in helping out his community. Roy grew up here, then left to go to school. Moving back and becoming mayor meant looking at his village through different eyes. much has changed.
There was a mill that the community bought early in the 1900s, and all of our buildings, the village would work together to build a house. So there were quite a few houses here until about the 1970s that were in existence, that were log cabin houses, many of them that were two-story. They were really, really beautiful. It's only been the last 20 years that we've been getting HUD housing or BIA housing, and so that the face of the village has changed in many ways. A lot of the log cabins have either burnt down or have fallen apart, but until then it was a community that was all constructed of log cabin houses.
One of the log buildings still standing is the house that Roy grew up in.
At the time that I grew up in that house, it was considered a large house. Of course, now by today's standards in the village, it's small. But at one time, every family here had dog team dogs. In many cases, they had two teams, one for the husband and one for the wife. Of course, only within the last maybe 15 years has that changed. We no longer have any dog teams in the village. I think the last dog team sort of finished being a dog team about 10 years ago. But my parents, when my siblings were small, my older siblings, both my mother and father had their own dog team. Of course, now everybody has a snow machine. In White Mountain, as in all other Alaskan villages, ATVs have become really critical for transportation and for people being able to move things, like heavy things. And as you just saw there was an older gentleman on a snow machine. And almost everyone here has 2 or 3 snow machines per family, which is very new. I mean, 10 years ago, maybe each family had a vehicle, not 2 or 3 vehicles. But and 10 years ago, perhaps, people would use their vehicles only to go hunting out of the village, and now you see a lot of people using their vehicles within the village. So there's a different trend as far as transport happening with ATVs. Hi, Julius. Julius, where are you going? The White Mountain Covenant Church, it's the Swedish Evangelical Covenant Church, was established in White Mountain in the 1930s, and it's been a real force in the community. One of the things that the church was so instrumental at was, building this community and convincing people to live here rather than up the river where their traditional village is. It's done many, many good things in the community, but some of the things that might be seen as negative by some people in the community are the loss of language and the loss of traditional cultural activities. But the church still plays a primary force in the village, so we give it a lot of respect. Yeah, it's a neat old building too. The community has gone through so much transition since the early 1900s, and there was an incredible impact from the gold rush and from Western influence, and the community really turned a lot of that into a positive. That whole section of town there that you see over there, on all those buildings are the sort of the school and city office and IRA campus. So that's sort of the business center of the village, if you will. And you could kind of see, like, there's a whole section of large buildings on that side of town. That's basically where all the business happens, where everything occurs, as far as, and we have like the store there and the main offices plus the school. So this side of the village is sort of residential. That side of the village is sort of more business. Kind of a neat thing about this creek is that, and you can't really see it right now, but it's covered. But at one time there was a war here, and when the people went up to the top of that hill to see where the enemies were, and they saw how close they were, many of the people took their kayaks, which is the you know, the kayak, and they brought them up this little creek to hide until the enemy warriors came. And so to this day, that creek is named Inupiaq, which means place to hide. This is a neat story. There's, well, I mean, I don't know for taping, but it used to be that the main road of the village ran past those houses here and along here and through these willows up to the church. And at one time, this whole area here was all trees. And there was something that happened, like a flood or something, and this whole area got flooded out. So there was a young woman that lived across here that started using a small footpath through the trees along here, and now that's become like our main road. It's amazing how that kind of stuff happens. The life in the life of a small village. Here you can see some of the river boats that people use during the summertime, and that is a very crucial thing for people as far as fishing and doing subsistence fishing activities on the river. The river that we're looking at now is called the Fish River. In Eskimo, it's called Inupiaq, and that translates to fish, the river of fish. The boats here are remarkable because oftentimes the river gets so shallow, it's like maybe 4 inches deep. And as big as these boats are and as heavy as they are, they can still go through that water, and you know, they have jet boats. But that's become a real issue on the river recently because we're having such a decrease in fish population. That one of the issues that we're looking at, besides the impact of too much fishing, or besides the impact of environment, we're also looking at the fact that, you know, the jet motors may be causing some damage to spawning areas. The kids here are really good about listening to laws and ordinances that we've set up, and you almost will never see students riding snow machines or ATVs without a helmet, and that's unusual too. I mean, a lot of communities, people will come here and go, their kids all wear helmets. You know, and it's just the community has such a good influence. The parents here are so good with their kids that we have very few problems with our students. I mean, they're just excellent students, great people.
And speaking of students, you'll find them all down at the gym tonight for the big basketball game. It's the White Mountain girls playing their first game of the season against Shaktoolik. Oh, and when I say all the students, I mean it. Every girl that goes to White Mountain High School is on the basketball team. All 8 of them. The same is true of Shaktoolik.
Every girl in high school is on the ball team.
It's cool, you know everybody. We're all really close best friends.
Jenna Fagundes is a junior at White Mountain High School.
It's hard because some kids don't get as much playing time as others, but it's still fun for all of us.
So what happens if a girl doesn't want to be on the team?
I'd try to ask those girls to encourage her, try to get her to play.
Irving Ashenfelter is the White Mountain girls coach.
So she doesn't be left out in high school.
There was one of the girls on our team used to be like that when she was a freshman, but the older girls talked her into joining, or they wouldn't have been able to have a team. And since then, she's been a really good ball player. She works really hard now. Yeah, pretty much. You're going to be on the team.
Agnes Takak coaches the Shaktoolik team.
We live in a village. Everybody will participate.
And it looks like the fans love it, especially these little girls.
Every weekend there's a different game. There's 15 villages in the district, there's about 8 with ball teams, and they make a schedule to where the team goes from I mean, a team goes to another village. There's either a mini tournament or that team hosts one game. Like this weekend we hosted Shaktoolik. Next weekend we'll be going to Shaktoolik and playing Golovin, Stebbins, and Shaktoolik for a mini tournament. And the weekend after that we'll be going to Golovin to play the Golovin ladies. It's fun. You have to stay up and work, but it's a one-night trip, except for during regionals. It's about a 2 to 3 night trip, and this year it's at Shishmaref, but it's a lot of fun. You get to know all the other community members. All the Shaktoolik girls I know as friends, all of them really close, because all the sports, we meet each other every weekend almost.
I went to school here at White Mountain High School, graduated in 2001. I'm here working at the new multi-purpose building across town, and maybe a month ago, the principal asked me to coach the girls team down at the high school. And I told him, yeah, I would, just as long as they have practice at 6 o'clock, because that's what time I get off work from on the building. Well, I hope that they get away from this, that they had fun, they were with their friends, and they were able to do something as a team, try to make it to state. Those girls love to travel, and real nice, and they really want to go to state.
Their friendship, working together, teamwork, being able to know that they can accomplish anything in life to reach their goals. We're going to see everybody at state.
One of the biggest challenges of running any village in rural Alaska is getting the money for basic services. With no roads into the village and no dock for the barges, White Mountain is challenged on getting supplies here, but for the people, the future looks good. So what's in the future for White Mountain? Well, these stacks of lumber should tell you something. And that brings up a challenge that faces many of Alaska's villages: how to find funding for basic needs like schools, clinics, and utilities. Think about it this way. For the 250 people in White Mountain to afford the new $1.4 million clinic, every man, woman, and child would have to pay over $6,000 in taxes. That's where Dorothy Barr comes in. She brings in grant money for White Mountain.
The clinic total cost of the construction is $1,392,65, and of that, 80% has been funded by Denali Commission, and the city has to come up with 20%.
One of the things that's really good about this community is it's very productive, and we have a lot of really neat things going on. One of the things that we've also done this year is build an ice skating rink. We're not completely finished, but within the next week we hope to have more ice on there, and we've been doing those sorts of things like every year, and that's really unusual for a small village like this, to build ice skating rinks. Are you getting cold?
Taking a break to warm up on his way around the village, Roy checks in at the office. He thinks one of the keys for small villages to be successful is cooperation.
The local governments, the IRA Council, the City Council, the White Mountain Native Corporation, the Volunteer Fire Department, the church, all of those organizations work very closely together in White Mountain to plan any kind of infrastructure, any kind of events, any kind of activities that happen in the community are planned in collaboration with all those organizations. So for instance, this last year we developed a 20-year strategic plan for White Mountain. And we've also, within that 20-year strategic plan, we have a 5-year short-term plan that are holding a lot of the action items that we want to accomplish. Hi.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Heartbeat Alaska Native News and Native Information. Hello to our new viewers in Washington. So nice to have you with us. I'd like to thank you, Tom and BJ Gray in White Mountain, for your hospitality. And thank you, of course, Mayor Roy. God bless every single one of you. And we'll see you again next week for more Heartbeat Alaska.
Deep in your soul, doesn't matter if you're young or if you're old. It's Heartbeat Alaska. It's Heartbeat Alaska. Hear it from Hooslia to Pluto.
About what?
Julian?
What's that?
What you call those blackbirds? Yeah, ravens.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And
Ravens.
the song's about ravens. Ravens are funny critters. They have quite a personality about them, I think. They always seem like they're kind of laughing at us. They're looking down and going, you can't even fly. Stuck on the ground, can't fly. Don't eat garbage. You don't have any fun. Where do you see? Do you culinary arts? Where do you see that taking you? Where you might have already told me this, but do you plan on getting a job somewhere?
Yeah, somewhere in Anchorage, or if not, I don't know.
Do you ever plan on coming back here to live?
Maybe later on in life.
Yeah. To raise your kids here. Is this a good place to raise kids, you think?
I don't know.
You haven't tried that yet, huh?
Nope, not planning on it.
Well, you have plenty of time for that.
Yep.
I was well into my 40s before I had, I was well into my 30s before I had kids. You got a long time to go. There's plenty of time.
Yep.
But you know, I see the kids playing up and down the streets and everything here, so it's pretty safe.
Yeah.
For kids, right? And that's another comes back to family, doesn't it? That there's somebody to watch out for you pretty much wherever you are. It's up in the city. And there's fruitcakes up there. They'll snatch you up and haul you off.
Yep.
That's not good news. Seward, not particularly though. Seward's a nice place. But you still gotta watch out for nutcases. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's crazy how the world is today.
What do you think? How much do you know about what we're doing over in Iraq right now? You know,
Not much. I'm not focused on that.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
That's crazy.
The war in general?
Yeah.
Not so good. Not much good can come of it.
No.
I don't think. But you know, sometimes things have to be done. Have you ever thought about going to the military? Like.
No.
No. None of that.
Nope.
Not for me.
Nope.
This is a tough question, probably. You know, it's hypothetical anyway. Where do you figure you'll be in 10?